So this story starts with one of the biggest risks of my life. I want to take you back to 2020, and I'm in Medellin, Colombia. I have $1,000 to my name. I had just started working with Bob Proctor, and I had a $3,000 per month payment that was due within several weeks, and I didn't have the money. I didn't know how to get clients. I didn't know what kind of business model I was in. I was just taking one of the biggest risks moving from San Diego, California, landing in Medellin, Colombia with no income, no clients, not even knowing what I was doing. And then I did this one tactic. And then within 7 days, I had a fully booked out calendar, made $100,000 within 17 days, and my life was never the same. So let's talk about what actually happened here. So during this period, right, I'm starting with Bob Proctor, and he's talking about thoughts, feelings, and actions. And so this outside world that we're living in is a reflection of what's going on inside. But most importantly, we're living in some type of simulation. The CIA called it the hologram. Dr. Joe Dispenza called it the quantum field. Napoleon Hill called it infinite intelligence. Science of Getting Rich. Wallace Wall called it the formless substance. I mean, on and on and on. All these people are talking about the same thing. So as I'm learning this material with Bob Proctor 5 years ago, I'm like, okay, what does it mean to get emotionally involved? How can I actually use my mind to fully book out my calendar as an online coach, make a lot of money, and change my life? And so he says that you have to get a clear image of what exactly that you wanted. And so you've heard this before, especially if you're in the manifestation field. Like, you have to visualize the task, but you've tried it before and it didn't work. And honestly, going into this, I didn't know if it was going to work for me either. But there was a couple caveats that Bob Proctor taught me that changed my life. So the first one, when he says you got to set a big goal. Okay, and the reason being is we have anywhere from 60 to 70,000 thoughts every single day, and 90% are the same as yesterday. So what happens is we keep thinking in the cyclical pattern. So let's just say, I'm assuming if you're watching this video, maybe you're an online coach, an agency owner, consultant, something where you want to fully book out your calendar. Okay, and so you keep approaching the problem the same way. So by 10xing your goal, you're going to have to come up with strategies, formations, and things that you've never thought of before, and most importantly, would have never done before if your goal was much smaller. I'll give you an example. Let's just say your goal is to make $10,000 a month. You're probably making more than that, but just hear me out for this example. So let's just say your product is $5,000. And so doing outreach makes sense, right? Doing cold emails, cold DMs, you get yourself 2 clients a month, you're making 10K a month, right? So that would make sense. But if your goal is to make 100,000 a month, you have to get way more clients, especially if you condense the time frame. Say you want to do it in 90 days. So you got to come up with strategies and ideas you never would have thought of before if you were only trying to make 10,000 a month. So that was the first caveat. I wanted to make 100,000 a month. I had never made that kind of money prior. Remember, I'm 10K in debt. I'm in Medellin, Colombia during COVID. I have $1,000 to my name. I have a 3,000 a month payment due within several weeks, and I can't even make that payment, or I'm gonna get kicked out of paying Bob Proctor and even running my business. And so the first thing is $100,000 a month goal. So then the strategy that I stumbled across that Bob Proctor talked about specifically in one of the lessons, he talked about the idea of talking to the subconscious mind. And so he said that you have to get emotionally involved. Well, what the hell does that even mean? Like, he would say that over and over again. So what I've come to find years later, now being in this industry for 5 years, over 500 clients, millions of dollars in business, I came down to find it's 3 simple steps. It's creating a very clear image of what it is exactly that you want. Okay, you may or may not have that already, but it has to be very specific. And when I get into the details of the story, you're going to see why. The second step is it's got to be emotional. You have to have emotion behind it. And funny enough, the emotion that I put behind this particular image was actually a negative emotion. And I'll explain that in a second. And the third one is repetition. A lot of you guys keep changing up the image. Let's just say your goal is to make, $250,000 a month. You're visualizing your GT3 RS, then you're visualizing your home, then you're visualizing the yacht, then you're visualizing yourself living here in Dubai, right? You're visualizing different things. And so you have to do the same image over and over and over again because the subconscious mind needs repetition in order to amplify the signal. So let's go back to the story here. I'm in Medellin, Colombia, and it's during COVID time. I'm not able to leave my house for at least like 30 days. I'll give you the time. I'll give you, a spoiler. I didn't leave my apartment for 30 days because if I left, they were going to put me in jail. Literally, the cops came to the apartment I was at and they said, if I leave, because I'm a foreigner, I'm going to go to jail. So I literally did not leave my apartment. And I did this strategy right here that Bob Proctor talked about, but he didn't show how to do it. And I'm going to do this video. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So what I did was these certain meditations. And if you watch my yesterday's video, I talked about the idea of hemisync. I had no idea what this was back then. Now, 5 years in, obviously, this is what I do to run multiple 7-figure businesses. But at that time, all I knew was that I would do a 15-minute meditation twice a day. And now, I know, pay attention there because you're probably thinking it was some marketing strategy, a funnel, or anything. Guys, let me tell you this. I've had multiple I'm not trying to flex here, but two seven-figure businesses, okay? And time after time, multiple times, I literally accredit my visualization, my meditation to allow me to do that. I mean, even to this day, I'm still trying to figure out systems, scaling, offers, all that kind of stuff. But what I always consistently rely on is these meditations. And so here I am. I have to make this payment. And twice a day, I do what is known as a hemisync meditation, which is basically binaural beats where your brain, you're listening to two different sounds on your ears, and it synchronizes within your brain and amplifies your signal. But most importantly, I would do it 2 to 3 times per day. Think of it like going to the gym. If you train 2 to 3 times a day for 45 minutes, do you think after a period of 30 days, maybe like 90 days, you're going to see results? The answer is yes. So by me doing these meditations, I was training my mind on what exactly it is that I wanted. Okay. So what I would do, really important, is 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. I made sure to fall asleep. Now, hear me out. I didn't pass out, like go to sleep. I would dip into this, I don't know what to call it, the unknown zone. I mean, I remember hearing stories of what he said, Albert Einstein, when he was trying to come up with ideas, he would sit in a special chair, hold the metal ball, and he would try to drift off to sleep. And if he got too deep, the ball would drop and he would wake back up. There's this kind of gap, this unknown zone between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind that we kind of drift off to when we go to sleep. So I would hit this zone. And when I would hit this zone, this is when I knew I was deep in this shit, right? I was deep in the shit, and I would visualize my specific task. Now, this is the exact image that I would visualize to fully book out my calendar with no questions asked. I mean, nobody could have predicted it. At the time, my grandparents thought I was selling drugs. I was in Colombia. Nobody could explain this, but it actually happened. So what I would do is I would visualize myself scrolling on my Google Calendar. So I assume, like I said, you're probably using Google Calendar or something like this to see your booked out appointments. And me knowing as an online coach, still to this day, is that if I have appointments on my calendar, I know I'm going to get paid. So what I would do in this visualization, 2 to 3 times a day, I would imagine myself scrolling, right? Imagine myself scrolling. I didn't do it physically. I did it in my mind, in this unknown zone I'm talking about, that deep right before sleep. And I would imagine myself scrolling, and I was seeing all the appointments. So that was the image. And then the feeling that I put behind it was overwhelmed. And that's why I said it was a negative emotion. Maybe I should go down the route of experimenting with a positive or negative emotion and which one manifests quicker. But I would put the feeling of overwhelm. Because imagine, I'm seeing myself booked out from 7 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night, back to back to back appointments. And I felt this overwhelmed feeling during my meditation that, oh my God. And I remember specifically saying this to myself, oh my God, when am I going to eat? When am I even going to go to the bathroom? Like, I'm fully booked out, just scrolling. And so that's what I did for 7 days. And I'm sure you saw by the thumbnail, that's exactly what happened. And if I come here, that's the calendar right there. You can see the date at the top. And look at that, fully booked out 7 days later after actually visualizing it. Isn't that kind of crazy? Everything actually came true. And I'll start this video. And this is, by the way, for 6 months, I lived like this, make $500,000 in a matter of like 5 months, like completely changed my life. Remember, this is from a guy that had $1,000 to his bank account, $3,000 a month payment, like took one of the biggest risks of my life, moving to a new country with no income, and everything changed. And you know what's the craziest part about it? Let me pause the video. So you see right above that, the purple is like the day before. I literally have no appointments the day before, like not even one. And you can even probably see two in there. Yeah, you can see two, like the really at the top right there, and then the one right there. Like no appointments before. And then it goes from no appointments to literally flooded. Isn't that the craziest thing? I had fully booked out my calendar by simply visualizing twice a day, using hemisyncs, drifting off to sleep, waking in this unknown zone, visualizing myself doing a certain action, put an action behind it, which in this case was seeing my calendar fully booked out. I would put in this case, a negative feeling of overwhelm behind it, and it actually manifested within 7 days in the most unexpected route. The craziest thing is I didn't do any more marketing funnels, read any more books. I was literally the same exact person. And it came through an unexpected route, through a door that I could have never have imagined. It was the craziest thing. Some random guy messaged me, and he's like, "Hey, DeAndre, do you want to come on my podcast? I see the work you've been doing." I was like, "Sure." I was like, "How many people come to your podcast?" He said 200. I'm like, "All right, let's do it." We get on the podcast, 1,500 people showed up. And through the most random events, what Neville Goddard calls the bridge of incidents, I opened up, I did the same exact thing how I was doing before, doing some random work, YouTube videos. did the same work, and I dropped my calendar. My calendar was booked out, and the rest was history. Scaled it off to 7 figures, and even to this day, I did this with the YouTube channel. So, what is a practical action step that you can take right now? Get a clear image of what it is that you want. Get a specific image. Let's just say your goal is to make your first 100,000 a month, maybe your first, $500,000 a month, whatever it is. Create one action that would associate that you had that thing. So maybe you're depositing the bank account. Maybe you're paying your sales team. Maybe you're posting a YouTube video. Some form of action, and then do some type of action that can be repetitive. And I think this kind of plays into like the Neville Goddard's ladder technique, where you imagine yourself climbing up the ladder, climbing back down while drifting off to sleep, and within 3 days you're climbing the ladder. I think there's something that happens when you do the repetition part. So get that. Second thing is put feeling behind it. I'm going to allow you to experiment. You could put a positive feeling, gratitude, excitement, or maybe try that negative feeling, the feeling of overwhelmed. When are you going to eat? When are you going to go to the bathroom? You're fully booked out, something like this. And then the third one is do it repetitiously, 2 to 3 times a day, every single day, within 7 to 15 days. I truly believe that you can get results. Obviously, we're working with spiritual law, so I can't guarantee anything, but it's worked with me tremendously for now in business for 5 years. 500 plus clients, millions of dollars of business. To this day, I'm still figuring out the systems, avatars, and ads and all this shit. But I consistently go back to the schedule and this calendar and this system of like this meditation, and it always works out. It may not work out when I want it to, but guaranteed it always works out. So try this out for yourself. And if you want help with this is exactly what I do. Now, there's obviously some more stuff that I did. I have some business systems and stuff. So make sure you have that. And you can check out my YouTube channel for other stuff on how to do that. But if you want help on how to do this, just reach out to me. If not, you can do it for free yourself. But if you want to go faster, that's what I do for business. Or just try it out yourself. It's free. It's your mind. Free your mind. Try it out yourself. Let's go.